that it's a professional field. And being a professional, one of the important characteristics is how do you keep your time, and how do you structure your life-work balance, and how do you structure just work, essentially. And I think within our South African context, we have lots as teachers to change. And we have to understand that we are the change agents. We cannot go and work with our communities and be one with whatever is happening at a mediocre level. If we're not working with excellence, then certainly I say to students, then you should not be in teacher professional development or teacher professional learning. You should be somewhere else. Because as change agents, we have an important responsibility, and we have to be accountable for everything that we think of, act on, and change. So I really want to say thank you so much. This particular event was planned in a very big hurry. The reason being is that the students will be leaving at the end of the semester. So if we have to do this any other time, like next week, Monday or Tuesday, no one's going to be here because it is exams. And people are going to be on study leave, etc. So I do want to say thank you so much to our international students and the exchange students, and Beatrice is also one of them. I don't know what happened to Ashley, but I think Ashley will probably come at another stage. And to actually say thank you so much for choosing our university and our School of Education. And I know that what you experience in South Africa is streets apart from what you experience in your own country. Maybe Beatrice has some similarity, because I've been to Brazil and I've seen some of what happens there. I haven't been to Norway yet, but I've been to lots of the other European countries. And I think what we really need to embrace is the fact that we are people of difference. We are a country of difference. And right now we are in so much flux. And that flux is not even just electricity. It's politics, it's whatever. But you know, at the end of the day, we are resilient people. And we will work for better lives. So I do want to say, I hope that you've experienced the flows. Let me put it that way, the flows. Whether it was the ebbs or the whatever. And it must have challenged you. It really must have challenged you. At the same time, what you have to think about is, what have you learned from all of this? And what do you take home based on your experiences here? Okay? And I think each person will introduce themselves. They will present on their particular learnings in their experience. And I think what we learn from all of this is, how can we be changed even more? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So we'll try to do this without the microphone on. Some of us has got a pretty bad throat, but hopefully you'll hear us. If you don't hear us, you can just move further. That's also very fine. I didn't know how to figure it out. This one, mic. Reset audio mic. Oh, there it is. Does that help? Okay, so it helps. I can. Is that better? Better?
Yes.
You can actually hear me blowing, but I don't know if you hear me speaking louder. Is that all right?
Yes.
All right, lovely. So I can start off introducing myself. My name is Tobias, almost like the South African name Tubani. I know some of you know that. But Tobias, I'm 25 years old, and yeah, what else can I say? We'll do some more introduction, but first of all, that's what my name is and my age, so you can do the same also.
Hello, my name is Tiril, and I'm 23 years old, and I come from a city in Norway called Bergen. I'm so sorry about my voice, I've got a bit of a cold.
Sorry. My name is Hanna, and I'm 22 years old, and yeah, I come from a place called Ørsta. No one knows where it is. A smaller town.
So we're all from, or similarities, that we go to the same university in a city in Norway called Bergen. It's based on the western coast of Norway. So this is like a world map, everybody knows that. We're down here, and this is us. This is Norway. That's the national flag. And Tiril and Hanna is also living on the west side of Norway. Tiril comes from Bergen, where we study. Hanna not so far away. I come from the southern parts, so I got better weather, so I'm more adapted to this climate. No, I'm just kidding. But at least we got better summers than you guys do. So yeah, this is some of the geographics. We're living in the same time zone, so that makes it easier to call home, for example. But it's also the opposites of the seasons. So when you're going towards winter, we're going towards summer back home. So we're actually lucky having spent summer down here and moving you back home to summer. So this is the city, Bergen, and this is the school. It's called HVL. It's like the University of the Western side of Norway. And this is where we do our masters. We are on education master's program. It's an integrated master, so it's 5 years. And we are now on finishing the 3rd year. So when we get back home and starting in August, we're starting on our 4th year and our masters. So this was also a great opportunity to do the exchange program, which means that you have sent 4 South African students to this university in our city, and we are down here visiting you guys. So we are really lucky, but these are at least some photos. This is more like a fly photo, or it's not actually a fly photo because we got mountains. So this is from a mountain called Ulriken, like the biggest mountain in Bergen, which is above 600 meters above sea. And this is also the sea and the fjords. Yeah, as you can see here, it's also snowing on the ground. So, yeah, at least 1/4 of the year we got snow. Should we tell something about our subjects back home? Yeah. So for me, we have different programs. I'm doing almost age group, class group 5 to 10. It's more like the intermediate phase. Yeah, great. And same for Hanna. Tiril is doing 1 to 7, so more like the foundation phase. My subjects are English, social science, and PE, gymnastics and stuff. And I'm also writing my master's in PE, so I'm looking forward to that. And you?
Like I said, I also do grade 5 to 10, and my subjects are social science, English, and like health and cooking, a specific subject we have in Norway. So, and I'm doing my master's in English.
And I'm doing Norwegian, and maths, social science, and PE. And I'm going to write my master's in social science.
And along that program, we also have pedagogy, more close to what you call method, but it's more like a specific pedagogy. So that's it.
Okay, so when we arrived in January, the first thing we did was our teaching practice at the Lotusville Primary School. On this picture, you can see us with 2 of our mentor teachers. We actually had 3 mentor teachers, 1 each. but the third one couldn't join the photos. So it was a very interesting experience because the public schools, especially in South Africa, is very different to the ones we have in Norway. In Norway, almost everyone goes to a public school, and you will get the same opportunity on a public school. As you do in a private school. So the biggest difference we saw was the very strong discipline. They were using like a more of a disciplinarian. Sorry, I'm not that well. I'm so sorry.
That's all.
They were using discipline rather than like a pedagogical approach in the classroom. So the students or the learners were like afraid of their teacher, and they didn't have a relation to their teachers. So we were there for 3 weeks, and it was mostly observation.
I feel like it was, at least for me, I was happy to have a lot of observation because it's interesting to, first of all, just observe, and then it's harder also to jump into a whole different school system where you have to kind of change your teaching approach, because my approach back home would not kind of fit in the same system as you do here, because I'm not used to that strong discipline and where everybody have to be quiet. And you know, when another teacher steps into the classroom, it's getting messy and loud right away. So how do I handle that? So that was kind of a challenge, but also very interesting. Hopefully I have gained some discipline strengths, so I will be more disciplined when I go back home. At least learn something about that discipline, but yeah, it's interesting. Want to add something?
I can touch on the structure of the school days. We also, at least for the school we went to, it was quite different than what we're used to back in Norway. They had 2 breaks during the entire school day, which were also their lunch breaks. And in Norway, they usually get a maximum of 1.5 hours together. They usually have a break between every 45 minutes. And they also have, it's as in like a law kind of, that learners are supposed to have 20 minutes of specific time to eat with the teacher present in the classroom. And that's something, just a difference that we noticed when we were in teaching practice.
You can also see a picture from the classroom. It's not looking too bad. The people are sitting, or the learners are sitting pretty tight. This was in January, close to February, so it's so hot, and teachers were like forcing or using the fans and everything as like a way to discipline the kids. And if they're not quiet, I turn off the fan, for example. And I was like, please don't turn off that fan. Because I was dripping inside the classroom, and I guess the students were, or the learners were as well.
There were also classrooms, at least one of the classrooms I was in, the fans were not working. Like the maintenance hadn't gone around to fix it yet, so it was super hot.
Yeah. And this is like how the school looks, just blocks, not too bad. And this was like an assembly area or a meeting point where the principal was talking to everybody that were lined up, which would also never happen in Norway, only if there was a fire or something. And this was a playground, probably 1 hour that they got off, almost like during the whole week, but for me I would enjoy that hour really much. So it was a great experience, but also interesting. Should we move on?
a bit about our experience here at UKZN. We've had 4 modules. These are the 4 we've had: 2 English, 1 history, and 1 social science. 2 of them are method modules. And like Tobias mentioned earlier, we don't, at our university, we don't have method for English, method for social science. It's its own subject for us. So it was nice to see how you do it over here, and that it can be more integrated into the specific module you're taking, or the specific subjects you're getting your degree in. The sizes of the classes are also really different. Here there are like minimum of 200 in a class, I think.
Going up to like 600
600.
maybe.
Yeah.
That's the whole school.
Yeah. And back home, the biggest class I've been a part of at HVL is, I think we were 45 students maybe. That's the biggest I've been in, at least.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference, but we feel like, or I at least feel like the lectures have still been pretty I lost the word, sorry. Pretty like engaging, even though there are a lot more students in each class. You also use a different grading system than we do, both at the university, but also in the primary schools, and yeah. So it took a bit of getting used to, but when we got it, we got it. And also with the work we do, like the assignments throughout the semester, that we got marks on those. That's not something we're used to from back home at our university. Those are just a pass or fail, and you have to pass them to get to take your exam. So that was, yeah. But it's nice to know where you, like how well you do on the assignments. Because I feel like sometimes if it's approved or not approved, you don't really know how well did you really do. Did you just get it approved? Or, yeah. The academic level, it's a bit different. One example I can think of is that we wouldn't have gotten in Norway was one of our first English grammatical lectures. The lecturer talked about what is a verb, what is a noun, what is a adverb. That would be given in Norway. You wouldn't get that first lecture where everyone got the same base of knowledge before we went on. It's supposed, or yeah, that's something you wouldn't get in Norway. Our experiences and outcomes. It's nice to see how university and specifically education can be taught at a university in another way than what we used to, and learn about how to like the method modules that it's specific to subject. Yeah. Do you have anything else?
Not really, but you're free to ask questions at the end, so if we come up with something or you are wondering about anything, you can just ask us questions. We'll try to answer our best. So, some of the other experiences. Tyrion might be affected from the experiences right now, so we should try.
I will try again. Okay, so the things we had to adapt to coming to South Africa was load shedding, water shortage, the social differences. You can see the social differences very clearly here, because some people are living in these shacks and some people are living in like huge villas with private security and everything. And in Norway, I think pretty much every citizen in Norway has a roof over their head and food on the table every day. And the government sees to that happens. Safety issues is also something that was hard for us to adapt to, because Norway is a very safe country and you can like walk around anywhere. Some people are afraid to walk at night, but I think it's more safe to walk at night in Norway than in the daylight here. So if I go to town at night, I can walk home and nothing will happen. So it's a very big difference and something that we had to get used to. Like, we can't go everywhere and we have to always like think twice about what we're doing and everything. But we've also experienced that the population is very welcoming. Everyone is saying hi and hi, how are you? And I feel like we've gotten a very great welcome from the people of South Africa, living here for 5 months now.
That's also a pretty weird thing, because we hear all this stuff about being safe, work together, everything, but at the same time you're welcoming, wanting us, we feel like we want us all the best. And we haven't gotten any bad experiences, so that's very good. But it's also weird, like, is it really that unsafe? Because we haven't experienced it. But I believe what you're saying, but also thank you for welcoming us in that good way. And your service here is great. You can go fill up your gas without leaving your car. So when I get back home to Norway, I'll probably just sit in there and wait for one guy to help me out with the fuel and everything. And you get your windows washed. You don't even have to pack your groceries, so it's a luxury. So I get pretty lazy when I get back home. No, but it's great service and lovely welcoming people. And some of the else, or some of the other experiences, we have been really lucky. We have kind of good funding system from back home in Norway, trying to make sure that we're not losing any money, but of course you have to use your own pocket too. But we have got the opportunity to travel around, exploring both KZN, Lesotho, and Cape Town at least. So we had a great time. Does anybody know what that is? It's the Hollywood Bets rugby. Yeah, Kings Park. Yeah, right. And we've also been to Moses Mabhida. So trying to attend some of the local sports arrangements. That was great. These two photos are from Lesotho, Sani Pass. We actually got to travel. This is my mentor teacher, Tia Naidu. So they were very welcoming people, wanted us to come with them for a family meeting in Sani Pass. And we were like, sure, why not? So it was a wonderful experience.
Like our third weekend here or something.
Yeah. And that's also the highest pub in Africa. So it's beautiful nature. And this picture on the boat is from St. Lucia, or Lake Lucia. It's like a 3-hour drive up north of this coast. And we got to see crocodiles, hippos, even a hippo in the street. So we have seen a lot of crazy wildlife that you won't see back home in Norway. Yeah, we have some other photos too. We have some visitors from our family. Both Hannah and Tirul got their family down for a visit, and I got a friend down for a visit. So we got to go for different safaris, and we also went on one together. This is all in the Slushluve area, so it's not so far away, also like 3 hours drive. So your nature here is just great. A little bit frightening, but The guide was just telling me to keep my fingers in the car. I said, oh, okay. But it was all fine. And we got that beautiful sunset too. Cape Town, we actually have been twice to Cape Town, all of us. Tyrell's got at least a good friend from back home studying or doing this exchange program back in or down in Cape Town. And Cape Town is a little bit, or it got much different from Durban. I feel like we've been lucky to live in Durban, experience like what South Africa can be, and also got the chance to visit Cape Town because it's such a big difference inside the same country. You get a feeling when you touch down, there's like you got opportunities. You can go around, do activities. You can go hiking. Visit the vineyards that we did. So yeah, I think at least for me, I really like Cape Town. And we got to visit. I really like Durban too. I really like Durban too. But we got to visit Robben Island, see some of the history. Touching, interesting, and yeah, we also got to enjoy great wine, good hikes, had a good time. So we were down there actually last week and to celebrate the Norwegian Constitution Day. So we did that with some fellow Norwegians, which we don't have so many of here in Durban, but we have more of them down in Cape Town. So that was a great celebration. All right, so to sum up, it's pretty, it says itself, but we're looking forward, all of us, to see our friends and family again. And as I told you, we got summer back home, so it's going to be a great time to come back to. And we're looking forward to the stability in the electricity, in the water. So yeah, we're maybe privileged in that way. And more safety, walking around at night. I know Tyrell does a lot of that, so that's more safe for her. And more activities. I feel like, at least for me, I'm all into sports. I want to play sport with my friends, so we might go play soccer, play tennis and everything. And at least for me, that's easier to do back home in Norway, when you got fellow friends and everything. I guess you guys know when you're coming to a place for visit, it's always kind of hard to adopt right away. So for me, that's one thing that I'm missing, and I'm looking forward to. And we're definitely going to miss the climate and the weather. I mean, wow, look at the beaches, and it's crazy. We had a blast, and we've been sweating more of this half year than a long time. But it's also very, very nice. At least, hopefully, we got a good tan when we get back home, because we Norwegians want to be more tan. So I don't know how that works, but at least you got beautiful nature and also the good prices. It's a bit different in the currency. So for us, we have got pretty much from the Norwegian krone back home in Norway down here. Also food is so cheap, and drinks, and also accommodation and everything. So that's something we're definitely going to miss and feel when we get back home. It's going to be way more expensive. But also what you get for the prices down here, like all the good food, we've been eating so good. And yeah, I've been very lucky. So some of the cool experiences, the culture, the nature and the food. We're not all about that spicy Indian food. That will probably kill us. But so far we have survived. And we had a very good time. You want to add something else?
You said it all.
All right, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you. You can ask about anything. Yeah.
Anyone they can ask questions.
Yeah, sure.
Together.
Sure.
Let's level the floor. My country looks a lot more like South Africa than with Norway.
You need the...
No, you can just go back to the map, would you? To the map. Hello guys, thank you all for being here, especially to my friends that came because I begged in case I faint to help me. I prepared some pictures, but I don't have them now, and we all have Global Protect to thank for that. Let's try to do something. I will introduce myself. My name is Beatriz. I am 25 years old and I'm from Brazil. I come from the University of São Paulo, which is a partner for UKZN. You guys know Brazil. You guys probably heard a lot about it, but you hardly heard about my hometown. I'm very sorry, I am not from Rio. Rio is like the Brazilian Cape Town, and I'm very sorry to tell you guys, but I'm from the Brazilian Johannesburg. It's ugly and we are kind of always angry with each other, but we still love it a lot. I'm from São Paulo. Well, my degree back home is quite different. Our course is structured very differently from the way you structure it in South Africa. We have semesters like you guys, we have the same school year, but back home my course is similar to foundation phase and intermediate phase. Technically, the literal translation from it to English would be pedagogy. We study child development and psychology, learning psychology, learning methodologies, and we don't have majors. I cannot say that I'm majoring in English or Portuguese or whatever, because we learned everything for foundation and intermediate phase. Education in Brazil is very different from South African education. Firstly, let's get this clear. We don't speak Spanish, we speak Portuguese. And we only speak Portuguese. So this is a big difference. You guys are handling a lot of languages when you talk about education. We only deal with Portuguese. Our public school system is structured very differently, though I feel like it's not as different as from Norway scenario. We have big rooms full of students like you guys, but our public school system is, public education in Brazil is always free. Public university is always free. So this is something that coming here was very different for me, because here public education can be paid, especially in university level, which is really, it's hard to get my head around it. I am a funded student. I was funded by my university to be here. So it's hard for me to imagine having to come up with funds to pay for it, let alone. Another thing that is very different, university here. Our universities, they have smaller classrooms. We have about 80 students per classroom instead of the 300 I've seen around here. And we complain a lot about it. We say it's too much, 80 is too much. We feel like we are not close enough from our professors, and that they don't have enough time to deal with each of us. So coming here and finding 300 people in that class was kind of shocking, but it was also nice because I had the opportunity to see like the lecture theaters, like the ones that go like this, which I had only seen American movies, so really fancy. I'm gonna take a picture with those. Since I arrived here, I had the chance to meet really amazing people. People here are really welcoming, and I've made some good friends. I've met this incredible amount of cultures, and I've eaten amazing food. I'll try not to mention the food too much, but I really like the food here. As you can see by the fact that I didn't get dinner since I arrived. I like the maguinhas too much. I'm not good. I've made some friends that were kind enough to ignore the obvious language barrier and to guide me as I try to know more about this very diverse and culturally rich country. I thought I was coming to a place that looked like home, And even though South Africa and Brazil have a lot in common, I arrived here and I found a country that has many countries inside these borders. So I feel like South Africa is not like anywhere else in the world. I've learned so much about the culture here and about South Africa, and I know all of this amount of information I was able to access. It's so little compared to all South Africa has to offer, and this is really amazing. On my way here, I thought I would have to make this trip worth it because I wouldn't have the opportunity to come back. So I was like, I have to see everything because I will never come to South Africa again. And after my time here, I know it's inevitable to come back because I've met so little and I fell in love with so many things. I cannot spend my life without coming here again. It was nice because it leaves a lot of opportunities open for the next time I come. And more than knowing new things to like, I had the chance to find about the origin of many things I loved before. In Brazil, we have the term Afro-Brazilian to call all the aspects of our heritage and culture that come from Africa, but we don't know exactly where from in Africa. And I was trying not to be too hopeful on my way here, but once I'm here and I've seen so much, I can say that coming to South Africa was like coming to a second home because we have a lot in common, and I can see many things that we gain that from your culture, your cultures. Our foods are very similar, our dances are similar, our music, our parents, especially when they are angry. It was such an honor and privilege to introduce my culture, to cook food from my country for my friends, to see they get really disturbed by the things we eat, by the fact that I put mashed potatoes inside a hot dog, and then having to admit that they like it was really nice. And it gave me the opportunity to feel homesick and realize I come from a place I love, which is harder to realize when we are home. I had a chance to fall in love with my study area again. In Brazil, as I said, we only speak Portuguese because during colonization, the Portuguese people, they forbid us to keep speaking our indigenous languages. The ones who survived through the years, the indigenous languages that survived through the years, they are spoken in small, closed communities. So even though I'm mixed and a big part of my family is indigenous, the only languages I know how to say in my ancestral tongue are hello, how are you, and white girl. These are the same things I know how to speak in Zulu. And I've only been here 4 months, so it's amazing to see how people fought for their cultures here. Back home, all teachers are language teachers, like I've heard here so many times, but it's different from us because if we have different backgrounds, the one thing we share is our language. Brazil is as big as, I have to read that because I had to add South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Botswana, Namibia, Angola, DRC, and Zambia combined. So Brazil is the same size as 8 African countries combined. Wow. I can hardly see any resemblance between all these countries, and the same can be said about different parts of Brazil. So we are Brazilian because we are born inside the borders, because we speak Portuguese, and because every time Neymar falls, we want to die. So unfortunately, language studies are not central in our teacher education, which is hard for me because I love it. I came here because this is central in South Africa, and I have never been nerdier in my life. I know your library better than my home university's library, and I spent 4 months here and 4 years there. I've disturbed the lecturers so much with questions that they will never hear the word Brazil again without shivering. One thing I wish was different is that since I arrived, many people here ask me, why would you come to South Africa? As sad as your very recent history might be, South Africa is a very unique place. No other country mastered educating in a language different than the home language like you guys. Many of you are proud Zulus, proud Xhosas, and proud Indians or something else. And I hope in time you will also become proud South Africans, because this is an amazing place. That's it, thank you. So if anyone has any question?
That's a challenge to you, hey?
Yeah, it's a good challenge. And also define kind of, the Norwegian vocabulary is not that rich. The English one is much richer, but then I don't know what's in English.
You can say it in Norwegian and somebody will translate. We'll just go to Google Translate.
If you have a word for like a challenge that makes you grow, I don't know if you have that, but I don't think we have it in Norwegian either, but it's been a challenge, but it's also made me grow in a kind of good way. To appreciate the good things from back home, but also enjoy this beautiful place while I'm here. If that makes sense. Enhancing. That's it, you got the word. We don't do Norwegian.
Because you don't have the context we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I also have a question.
Oh, they still, wait, what? That way they can give the words and then your question. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
That's so hard.
Yeah.
Say it in Portuguese. I don't know if I have a word in Portuguese for this too.
Okay, so we'll come back to you. Maybe let him ask his question, if you don't mind. Carry on, sir.
My question was, do you have any suggestions or advice on how we can progress as students in here in South Africa? Or as you said, that I find that Norway is much different than South Africa. So, do you have any advices or suggestions that you would give to us as South Africans as to how to progress or how to reinforce what we already have?
I think when you like start working as a teacher, it's important to bring the things you have learned in university, because the things we learn here are very similar to the things we learn in Norway, but it doesn't come out in the schools. It's our experience. So I feel like many teaching students are coming out, finishing their degree, coming out, and they will just do the same as things have been done before. So the most important thing is to try to go your own way when you come to a new school or as a teacher. Yeah. But it will be hard, probably, and there are always people who have been working there for 40 years who knows the right things to do, or they think they know what the right thing is. And then you would have to go against that. But it is very important for learners.
So in Norway, do you have that type of experience where the recent graduates are in the schools introducing all these wonderful strategies that the children are open to, and then the elderly teachers are saying, we don't do that here. You do what we do. Does that happen in Norway? And how do you work with it?
Yeah, I think it happens, but maybe regarding different things. Like more of a disciplined approach in a way. That was something happening like maybe 50, 60 years ago. So I think the school system has grown a lot since then. But there are always things like new teachers would bring to a school, and it would be hard for anyone to come in and like say this is what we have to do.
Back home, most of us work during graduation. I go to school at night because I work as an assistant teacher during the day. So since my first year in university, I've been working in schools. And sometimes when we try to apply the things we learn and bring new approaches to education, people think we're crazy. People will look at you, they will question you. You have, if you truly believe in what you're doing, you have to be perseverant. Is that the word? Perseverant. You have to believe in the kind of education you are giving. People will always question you. This is not just about discipline or teaching approaches. We are young, we are recently graduate, we have new minds and new beliefs. People will question us as teachers. But you guys have amazing education here. So UK is and I think it's the best university in this country regarding education. So believe you have good support in which you are building your teacher persona. You have a good support for who you are building, and I'm not saying university will give it to you, but you have a good support and you have to be really confident about it, because people will question you.
May I ask you to please share with the students, you spoke very briefly about the fact that you work full-time and you study full-time. Please can you speak to the students about how when you came here, you just had so much time to do so many things.
Yes,
Please could you share that, and I'm not sure if the Norwegian students have that type of experience as well too.
I had so much time when I arrived. I cleaned my bedroom walls. That's the amount of free time I had when I got here. Because I live on campus and I am a full-time student for the first time in many years. Back home, I work during the day, I go to school at night, and I live 2 hours away from my home university. Because São Paulo is, I think, the third largest city in the world. So living inside the town doesn't mean I live close to my university. So it's a very different experience to be focusing on my studies for the first time. I don't think it's a coincidence that I finally know a library and been studying so much, but it's amazing. But I think it's an opportunity that has to be used. I try to make the most of it. At the same time that I really miss the experience I have as an assistant teacher back home, being able to focus on my studies was really a privilege. It was just a privilege. It was amazing.
Thank you. And in Norway, do you work at all, or do you just study full-time?
It is a full-time study, but at least for me, I work. I know, or yeah, most of us do work besides. So you make the time because you also need foundings, and yeah.
Okay.
But it's yeah.
Though my university is free, my hometown is really expensive. I can't keep myself in university without working.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Are there any other questions? Yes.
Are there any misconceptions or maybe pre-notions that you had before coming to South Africa that you guys relearned or reconstructed a certain way that you thought for South Africa?
Africa, I think that like the infrastructure is very bad. So when we came here, it was like, oh, it's not it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good. Many places.
As for me, I think it's really similar to home, so I actually feel like I wouldn't go out at night in my hometown. I do, but I carry a knife, so I'm with you guys.
Yeah, there's a question at the back.
My question is on the understanding that back home in the countries you are taught in Watertown. So I just want to know your experiences of having been taught for 3 months in the second language and having to engage with other students in your second language.
Isn't it more very similar to your situation? Most of you are speaking Sisulu back home, aren't you? So, but maybe you're using English more than we are using back home because we're mostly using it if there's a tourist asking for help or if we're watching TV. So we're not using it much in like our daily language. But that's also why one of the reasons for me to travel down here. So I have to use the language. But it's challenging, and sometimes you don't find the words. It's harder to express yourself, and you don't. It's also harder to be funny in a second language. No, but it's like it's harder to express your feelings and everything.
Yes.
So.
And I feel like your personality also get a bit lost because you're always searching for new words. So you can't like be yourself.
Yes. Our vocabulary is more limited. We never, this is similar to the situation of many people here because English is a second language for most of the people, but people here were educated in English before, and for us it was the first time. So it was frustrating at moments because if I am doing an essay, I'm like frustrated because I'm so much smarter in Portuguese. And when doing a presentation, it's hard because I'm much funnier in Portuguese. In the middle of a presentation this semester, the lack of vocabulary made me cuss in the middle of a presentation because these words I know. So it was hard adaptation, but it was really good practice.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
Hi everyone. So I just want to ask, I think English, you hardly speak English in back then home, isn't it? So which language do you use as a medium mode of communication? For instance, if I'm a foreigner, I speak English. Do I have to adapt in speaking Portuguese? Do I have to use Norway language for me to communicate with you all?
In Norway you can speak English.
Everyone would understand it.
Yeah. We have a subject in school called English. So like 2 hours a week you have English like for your whole for 13 years. So everyone is pretty good in English, but we don't use it like in everyday life.
Yeah,
Because
people speak in mother tongue, which is Norwegian. So it's mostly Norwegian, but you can travel there, speak English, and you'll get understood.
In Brazil, you suffer. We don't speak English. Most of the population does not speak English. We do have a subject at school called English, but our education is not European education. Most people know how to say hi and the colors, and that's it.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I think let us say thank you so much to our students. And let's say welcome. This is your home, and please make sure that you come back again to this home. Not necessarily here. I know Cape Town with the Okay, thank you so much. Thank you everybody, and I know that the real experience, if you're thinking about traveling internationally, please do contact the community engagement, and there are programs, and when they are available, they are advertised on the email. And then students will say, hey Zwandile and everybody else, oh, how come you selected to go on this trip? No, the person did the work. They read the email, they applied. But we have students who think, Twitter and all those other things, TikTok is better than their email. So please, there are lots of opportunities, and as what was shared, we have 4 of our students in Norway right now, and they are undergrad students. No, there is, I know there's postgrad students. There are postgrad students as well. And the one postgrad student will actually be presenting his proposal for the masters next week. So we'll be he's sitting in Norway, so he'll be presenting his proposal online to all of us. So I think this is an important aspect that we need to consider. Yes, the exchanges are very important, and it's about all the learnings that we actually experience. And we have to think about how the learnings enhance us in the process. And the first thing you have to do, students, get a passport. You know how many students don't have a passport, and they say, for what? If you go to people in Europe, they all have passports from a very early age. And you know what? Don't say I don't have the money. As soon as you say that, I'm going to ask you to please leave. Money is never a stop point for anybody. There are ways, there are opportunities, there are possibilities. And I don't say steal, no. But there are ways in which these things are possible. Okay, so first step, get your passport. The universe will say, open up for that person, they have a passport. Okay, thank you.
I understand the whole why we have a passport thing, because this is the first time I've been out of my country, because traveling from Brazil is also hard. But I had my passport for 2 years prior because I was waiting for this opportunity. I came here because I checked the university emails until the opportunity arrived, and the time I've been here, I've seen similar opportunities twice in UKZ and email. Yeah. So it actually works, it actually happens. So plan yourselves. If you want to do it, first do it, because it's a very amazing and well-rounded experience, all-rounded experience. I don't know, it's not my home language. Do it and plan it and be prepared. Focus on it as if it's going to happen, because it will.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Sorry, the last comment?
Someone raised their hand.
Oh, I wanted to say, anytime when you need a light.